Welcome back to the Women's Strength Society show today with a special guest on air. We have Coach Kitty here, who's been working with us for the last 9 months, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been great. And today we just wanted to have her on the show because she's visiting us in Berlin. And we wanted to spread some of her good mood, good vibes, silly vibes, funny, silly, goofy, sassy.
Yeah.
And some of her expertise as well. So we are going to dive into a few different topics. But you know, when I watch podcasts nowadays, because they've become so popular, there's a format. And it's very on schedule, maybe you could call that, with very specific question and a special flow so that you catch the listener and that kind of stuff. So we are not going to do that.
I love that.
And instead we are going to start with just a few rapid fire questions so that people can get an idea of who you are and why they should listen to this episode with you. But
I know that's right.
I know that reference. I just don't know exactly where it comes from, but I know it. Only wrong answers.
Wrong answers. Okay.
So if you were to pick one exercise until the end of your life, only one, that you do every day to get the most out of your fitness journey and health and body comp, which exercise is it going to be?
Wrong answer. Single leg press.
Why is that?
You have not finished your thought yet. I thought you were going to ask something that I hate, and that was the first thing that came to mind. So I was like, yeah, this fits the question as well, and what I thought would be the question would be.
It was the question. It was already finished, and that was it. So you hate single leg press.
Yeah.
Why do you hate that though?
I actually don't hate it for what it is. I actually prescribe it to clients every now and then.
Very kind of you, obviously.
But I personally hate performing them. It feels absolutely horrible on my hips, no matter where I place my feet on it. And I just feel it's completely unnecessary. So I'd rather do a split squat variation or something like that.
Yeah, it does sound though like it's a very good answer and a very honest answer of something that you would actually do. So now I'm going to ask that question again, but you are going to answer something that's absolutely not true and wrong.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm so honest person in this
fine.
chair.
That's fine. All right. So one exercise that you get to perform until the end of your life that's covering all of your bases when it comes to fitness and health.
Wrong answer.
Wrong answer only.
Tricep single arm kickback.
What is that even?
Well, no kickback, do you know what is that? Supported single arm for audio listeners. It's I'm kneeling on a bench, one hand supporting, and then the opposite hand is kind of pulling my hand back, and I'm extending my elbow, and that is the exercise.
So tell us, how is it going to take care of everything that we want to get out of exercising?
Well, so it's a single arm exercise. So it's trying to aim to, work on balance. So that's going to be covered there, unilateral. Is also a very foundational movement pattern that you complete on a day-to-day basis. Very functional, if you will. That's all you need.
I really like the way you try to justify that and really think about it. And
I'm not that quick on my feet, though.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. We are just getting warm up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Second question.
Yes.
Second question is...
Wrong answers still.
Still wrong
Fine.
answers. If you had to pick one piece of equipment in the gym that's going to help you achieve every goals that you have in life, in and outside of the gym.
Yeah.
What is it going to be?
Tripod.
That's a good one too. So how is it going to help you do that?
Well, so inside the gym, obviously, first, or it's multi-layered actually, because socially, if you have a tripod, you will be very popular, especially in a commercial gym, because everyone loves people who record in a public gym. So socially, it's very, very positive. Also, like, for yourself, it's super, super... that's not good. That's not a good reason, because that's true. That it's good for you.
It is good for you to feel yourself, right?
Yeah, but it's mainly social status. It was what it gives you. And also outside the gym, it gives you an opportunity to become famous, and that is important, I think. That's all you need.
All you need is love?
Yes. All that. Yeah.
That's good. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
It also almost felt like you prepared for this question, because it came out of your mouth like so quickly.
That is because I'm getting warmed up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the next one, we're going to shift gears and go more into like the nutrition side of things. And so you have to know, we are going to talk about that like briefly, but you have to know that Kitty studied food innovation and technology.
Technology. Yes, food development and innovation.
All right. So if you were to be like the queen of the world, and you had a magic wand and you could make like one change for every single people on earth, when it comes to nutrition, about the food that they eat, so that everybody gets like healthier, fitter, younger, richer, beautifuler, more intelligent.
Yes.
Obviously. What would it be?
Wrong answer.
Wrong answer still.
I'd say eat from a plastic Tupperware. That would be my number one tip.
Is that something that you studied actually in the food development and innovation?
No, it's actually not at all.
Too bad. So why would you do that?
Especially if you're using a microwave, and microwaving your food. I think that any type of chemical that can leak into your food from a plastic Tupperware can enhance brain activity as well, chances of success. It's helpful for body composition as well, and just overall health and longevity.
Isn't it going to support like your endocrine system and hormone production and that?
10/10. Yeah, it's the best thing that you can do.
I've heard it's also like a very good systemic stimulus that's going to help, support the evolutionary process that happen in the body.
Wow.
So we are going to actually speed up the rate at which mankind is evolving. And so it's going to facilitate the transition from like 100% biology into the merging of human with robotic and AI.
Oh, cool. So we're moving really fast here. So yeah, I love that. For listeners who don't get sarcasm, this must be a really hard conversation to listen to right now.
Okay. So obviously this was not serious because Kitty is actually very bubbly, very funny. She likes to laugh a lot. And so I thought it would be loud. Yeah. I thought it would be fun to start the conversation this way, but now we are going to go into more like serious stuff.
No, I promise I will keep this vibe going.
Okay.
I'm here to giggle for an hour. I don't know about you, Yannick, but...
Okay. I'm ready to be challenged. So every time that I'm asking something, then I'll have to guess first whether it's like a serious answer or if you're...
Correct, yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So... what brought you to the performance side of fitness? Because inside Strong Babes Club, and Women's Strength Society, like you're managing quite a lot of one-on-one clients. You're also giving a lot of feedback when it comes to the strength training and the Strong Babes Club, and you're pretty performance driven. And I noticed yesterday it was pretty fun actually when we were training together and doing some metcons. Then so we were alternating between rowing and running, and I stepped down from the treadmill and I was just like trying to catch my breath, and Kitty was like, let's go.
I was like running to the rower trying to strap my foot in.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Definitely were. So I was like, oh, she means business. Right? And so I'm just like curious how that
came about.
trait, developed. Because as far as I know, you haven't competed yet.
No.
So I find it pretty interesting that you're like performance driven, yet the competition hasn't happened yet. And how the switch was, between the food development, innovation, into the master's degree into the performance, and then into the performance facility where you were working, and the kind of environment you are working now.
I don't want to sound dramatic, but I actually think shifting my focus to performance from aesthetics and from the background that I started from quite literally saved my life. So I trained for a really long time to change the way I look, and not from a healthy place. And I did that for a really, really long time. Almost a decade, I'd say.
It's a long time, yeah.
It is a really long time. And then there came a point where I was like, this is just clearly not working. Not necessarily because because of the way I look, but because of how I'm feeling about myself. And then it was just like making that decision of, no, I'm actually just want to focus on how my body moves, how I perform, and all of that. And then I got an opportunity. I really was into helping people in a personal training capacity. I was working in a facility in person at the time. And I got an opportunity to get onto a master's degree, which was a slight pivot for me into strength and conditioning. And I kind of had a quote-unquote interview for that because I wasn't fully fitting the criteria with my bachelor's degree. And then I think as soon as I entered that space of looking at and studying obviously enhancing performance and reducing risk of injury. And there was not a lot. I did have a module on sports nutrition and making sure you're fueling the activities that you're doing. I think that was the switch for me. And that was the first time where I didn't necessarily train because I wanted to change the way I looked. I just enjoyed the pursuit of being stronger and fitter and learning new skills. That's when I started doing a bit of Olympic weightlifting. And again, like I haven't competed or anything, but just the pursuit of that skill took all the focus away from aesthetics, and that's what I needed at the time. That's how it came about.
That's cool. So what do you think, happened in your mind when you talk about the shift in focus and how that kind of, the pursuit of developing those skills, like literally saved your life? What were some of the things, like tangible things that you noticed that were unhealthy or unhelpful for you that were different when you were focusing on the performance? Was it just like you notice that the numbers are increasing and you feel like your capacity is increasing and thus you feel better about yourself? Was it just like not being busy with looking at how you look and thus you were just like feeling good about yourself? Was it something else entirely or a mix or?
I think kind of like a mix, but it's more so than not being busy with how I'm looking. I think I spend a lot of time spinning my wheels, doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result, which I'm sure that some of the listeners can relate to.
Yeah.
The hopping on certain diets, hopping off, starting all over again from Monday. You're like, yeah. We heard it before. So I think that was, a time where I was like, this is clearly not working because of how I'm feeling about myself. And it was just trying to not focus on that at all. But yeah, I think it was the environment as well. The environment of my master's degree, when you're surrounded with people who are pursuing similar goals. Or at the time, I spent a lot of time around people who were actually athletes, whether competitive or recreational, it doesn't really matter, but they were doing some sort of, whether team sports or individual ones, and that kind of like got me out of that rabbit hole.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, sorry, I'm pushing a bit here because I think it's important, and it is also something that we kind of try and promote as much as we can inside Women's Strength Society, inside the Strong Babes Club, is the importance of the performance during a fat loss phase, just so that you can retain your muscle, but also outside of it, so that you can actually transform your body. And performance is going to be like a big driver of transforming your body. But I'm just curious, you know, if the main thing for you was like to shift the focus and not be busy about thinking about how you look and that sort of things, you could have picked like pretty much anything else, you know, either as a hobby or even in the realm of athletic and sports. It could have been running, it could have been going back to dancing much more. I know that you also practice quite a lot of yoga, so it could have been like, hey, I want to become the yogi who does handstand, because there's also like a lot of skills there. Was there, like, besides the environment, do you think there is something inherent to the weightlifting in like a broad sense of the word that you're attracted to, and that really helped, you know, go away from you know, not feeling good about yourself to being like, hey, this is exactly what I need, I'm going to keep doing this and just like see wherever it leads me?
That's an interesting question. As you were talking there and explaining that, I was thinking, what is it about lifting weights or weightlifting as a sport as well that I'm so drawn to? And I feel like it's as much the physical as much as the mental side of things, and how lifting weights makes me feel about myself as well.
How does it make you feel?
We're getting into it. Capable, I think. I think lifting weights gives me a sense of I'm capable of doing hard things. Because I am. I can do them, and I want to do them, because I also think that it doesn't just translate to inside the gym kind of performance, but also it makes me feel capable in other areas of my life. It translates to other areas. Yeah.
Where do you notice the carryover?
From a character point of view,
when you go shopping.
No. I mean, yes, but I'm a little bit deeper into this. I think it's in my relationships, whether that's like working relationships or like personal relationships, I felt more confident in even just my job, or asking for what I want, or saying how I feel, and not being afraid of expressing that. So it translated into these areas of my life.
I think this is so interesting because we notice that very, very often with the women that we coach, and I'm sure that you know that.
Yeah.
You know, you're a coach and you see a lot of people, and then every once in a while, but quite on a regular basis, you hear one client who's like, hey, I just quit my job because it was actually not really satisfying, or I just like ditch my boyfriend or my long-term relationship or whatever it is. But it sounds like almost like a pretty radical and brutal decisions. But I feel like this is something that's actually pretty common in the context of coaching, and this is exactly what you're describing. So first, is that something that you've also noticed, like in your past experience, that you have coaches that as they get stronger and feel more capable, then they are making the hard decisions and like stuff that have absolutely nothing to do with
absolutely. People just get a little bit more almost ballsy to take risks, make harder decisions because of that feeling of confidence and competence that they gain through physical movement.
Why do you think that is, though? Because, it doesn't translate. Like lifting weight doesn't translate into, I don't know, being more organized or, I don't know, the kind of skills that you need to be a surgeon or a lawyer and that kind of stuff. There's no like, it's not the same. It's not really the same. Not. So, but there is that connection. So have you ever thought about what can it be and how that come about?
I do feel like there must be some sort of behavioral science behind this connection. I'm sure there's research out there. But I haven't gone down that rabbit hole at all, and I haven't necessarily thought about it. But I want to ask this question back. What do you think?
I would have. I find it very interesting that you say like behavioral science, because I would think that it's more about the changes in physiology. And I don't know exactly what that would be because I haven't really thought about it either. But movement is definitely tied to dopamine production. Like your reward systems. It's also related to memory. So it does have like a pretty big impact on your nervous system. And this is something that is pretty well established because, when you strength train, then you are training your nervous system. So I do think that those changes can make you a bit more courageous, maybe. I also think that it's going to have an impact on your metabolism to an extent and your hormone profile. So this is also going to have an impact on your resilience and your ability to tolerate stress. And so if you get more resilient and if you get a bit more courageous and your drive, and I say drive because like dopamine is not just like you feel happy because it's not just about the reward, but it's also about like the expectation of the reward you are going to get. And so it's going to impact your motivation. And this is definitely something in my mind that plays into like the courage, because you are going to feel the motivation to do something that's a bit ballsy, as you're saying. And so that would be my explanation, more so than the behavioral side of it. But
interesting, because I was approaching it from like a completely different angle. I was thinking for you to be able to do that kind of thing, you have to get outside your comfort zone. You have to do things that you are not necessarily motivated for. Because we're not motivated all the time to work out if you didn't know that. So I was approaching it from that corner.
So more like the structure it brings and the discipline, that kind of stuff. So I can understand that. There's one thing, like for me, you know, I really noticed the difference in structure that the training brings me, not from like the discipline and doing it even though I don't really want to do and that sort of things, but just like the kind of engrainment, I think it's called, in terms of the timing of your week when you have those events happening. Like the events are the training, but they are pretty big stressors. And I do feel like when you do that on a regular basis, then it kind of brings a certain rhythm in your biology. So for me, it goes kind of back to that. And this is something that I really felt because, like when I was a teenager, I was swimming quite a lot, like competitive swimming, and discipline and motivation were not really a question. Especially I had like one period where I was swimming 9 times per week. So it was like every day and sometimes twice a day. There was no question about motivation. You just like show up and do it. Yeah. And there was, it was absolutely not a question whether you have the discipline or the motivation or which one is more important.
It's a part of your...
And I guess this is something that I developed fairly early on. So I'm not asking myself like, hey, if it's on the menu, then I'm just going to do it, unless like I have to deload or that sort of things. But there was a long period of time where I had no structure at all, and I did not do any kind of physical activity. And then I definitely noticed a difference going back into that sort of structure of how it would impact me, but more so on the physiological level. So interesting. Are you going to go down that rabbit hole?
What rabbit hole?
The searching about the effect of like the carryover of strength training. And
well, now I'm intrigued.
Now you want to know.
Now I want to know. Yeah. So, you know, this is what we're doing after this podcast.
Okay. PubMed.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So going back to what you were studying in your master's degree, what was the title, like the exact title?
Strength conditioning and performance.
Okay, so performance was part of it. Then you had the strength aspect. You also had some conditioning, so more the cardio part. But as far as I understand it, there was also an underlying topic, let's say, let's call it that.
Yeah.
And you're like, where is he going? What's contrast now? So I think for your master's degree, for your thesis, you did some research on specifically the performance and strength training, maybe also even the conditioning part, and its relationship with the menstrual cycle in women. Correct. And this is something that I'd love to hear about a bit more, because nowadays there's a lot of talk still about like cycle syncing and and so apparently, as I can see, you're not necessarily a big fan of that.
Again, for audio listeners, my eyes just rolled back in their sockets as Yannick said cycle syncing.
Yeah. So let's just go there. Like, why did you want to study this and search that?
Yeah, I was interested in this topic because first of all, it just makes sense that physiologically the menstrual cycle should have an impact on women's performance because there's so many hormonal fluctuations throughout your cycle. But we don't know enough because a lot of the studies are always conducted on men to remove this factor. Obviously, a lot of the time studies will want to do that because this is a variable in performance studies.
So it makes it easier to understand like the other variables that are going to impact the performance.
Exactly. So there was not a lot of research on it, and there's still not a lot. We need more.
Can you give some number? Because I mean, when you shared that before we started recording today, I was surprised, to say the least.
Yeah. I also do think so just going back on that, so my dissertation was on different phases of the menstrual cycle and performance, but I didn't narrow it down to any specific performance. It was just performance because it was a scoping review. I didn't do any primary data collection. I haven't spoken to anyone. It was an interview. I just looked at what is out there already. But my inclusion criteria for the study was really, if I say so myself, robust. Because I wanted to find the studies that did blood tests. So they drew blood to analyze the luteinizing hormone in blood, which is the main indicator and the gold standard is what we call it. In menstrual cycle research. So there's a lot of research out there that uses the calendar method for tracking menstrual cycle. So they will assume that the first day of your menstrual cycle is menstruation, and then from then on, 28 days is when the next one comes. They also use another method where they are trying to identify ovulation by basically peeing on a stick.
Okay.
So then that will be the middle of your cycle. That's day 14. But again, that is not really an accurate way to identify cycle phases because there are a lot of cycles that are what we call anovulatory. So people don't ovulate even though they have a regular menstrual cycle and healthy menstrual cycle. And then it will be the gold standard to obviously look at blood work. But not a lot of people do that because it's very invasive, it's very costly. So yes.
And I'm like, from what I'm hearing now, it's also quite complicated to standardize it because even in one and the same woman, then maybe you'll have like three cycles with an ovulation, then 2 without, and then again 6 and
and also standardizing like the length of your menstrual cycle. It's just not really possible because it can last from anywhere between 21 to 35 days or even 40 in some women.
And that's like before the perimenopause phase.
Yes, so, correct. Yeah, that's right. And also that was me looking at cycles where women weren't taking birth control because that's a whole other topic as well. Yes. So I don't know where I was going with this question.
Yeah, but that's good.
Oh, why did I start? That was the question. Like, why did I? Okay.
Yeah. And you were like, hey, pretty natural to get into that. But when you were talking about that, I was also thinking like for the people who are not necessarily well versed into how science function. So you said it was a scoping review, so you did not do any primary data collection or people interview. So maybe can you just like explain what that means? And the difference between like the review that you did and other type of research.
Yeah, so when I say I didn't do any primary data collection, that means that I didn't have subjects that I did research on, so I wasn't trying to collect data that I can kind of analyze from then on. It was more so me looking at the current literature that exists and kind of come up with an inclusion criteria to analyze and try to draw conclusions and practical recommendations for practitioners on how to support women in their sporting career or in performance. So it was me trying to look at all the research, what's out there based on that, based on what I picked for inclusion criteria, and then kind of analyze that and then make recommendations from there.
So more so for coaches and maybe healthcare professionals.
Yes, and it was also, I also wanted to make recommendations for further research. So identifying the gaps that are there currently in the research.
Yeah. So I guess you found.
I found not a gap. I found a pit hole.
A valley.
Yes.
Yeah. So did you make any recommendation, either for the performance for the practitioners? Yeah. And or for the research gap, what should be done?
Yeah, my recommendation for practitioners was to, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Auto-regulation, obviously, that is the main thing. It is.
Is that your third name? Kitty's like, here, my first name is Kitty. My second name is Context.
Context, thank you.
So is that?
Yes, auto-regulation is my last name. Yeah, so because I feel like I need to go into the reason for this as well a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because so what you find in the research is there's a lot out there that looks at different performance indicators. So I didn't limit it to one specific measure. For example, jump height. I just wanted to look at everything because there was just a lot of aerobic performance or jump height or strength numbers, whatever that is. And there's quite a lot of research that with different findings. So it's fairly inconsistent, and that is obviously because of the different ways they try to identify menstrual cycle phase. But also it's because there's a lot of variation, not just within subjects, within women, but also within one person because of their differences in their cycle. And I'm sure some of the listeners can relate to this. Sometimes a menstrual cycle can last 24 days, then the next one is 28, then we fluctuate back to 21. So it's really hard to give concrete recommendation on how to adjust your training around it. It's virtually impossible. If anyone is trying to sell you that, please don't fall for it. It's not going to work. So the ultimate recommendation was, and I'm just being specific now with like strength and conditioning practitioners who work at team sports or like clubs or whatever, but it also applies to coaches with clients, to facilitate conversation with your clients, with your athletes about it, and treat it as any other variable. Treat it as nutrition, sleep, stress management, plus menstrual cycle. So it should be included in that way, rather than not talking about it at all, or making it a really big deal that that we don't talk about, like taboo. Because there's just a lot of research out there that shows that in professional settings mainly, but athletes may not be fully comfortable talking to their staff about this matter because they don't initiate the conversations. So hence why the athletes don't feel that way either. But also this is something that we just talked about over lunch, is that a lot of the time strength and conditioning practitioners are men. In this is a very male-dominated industry. And a lot of the times athletes don't feel necessarily comfortable sharing that with their coaches. So it's really important to open up that door for them and facilitate and make it comfortable for them to be able to come to you if they feel like they're impacted by it. Because another thing that we find consistently in the literature is that maybe performance-wise we can't draw specific recommendations or differences in different phase of the cycle in terms of performance, but the lived experience of the athlete says otherwise because of the certain symptoms that they might have, which can be bloating or any PMS or even with their mood, their anxiety, depression, etc.
Their hunger.
Exactly. So joint pain, another thing that can be, just general discomfort. which very much will impact performance.
100%.
So yeah.
But that's something that's going to be different, like from one person to the next, and it can happen at different times in the cycle, at different intensities. Yeah. So maybe someone's not going to be super hungry just before the period. Maybe they are going to have like more or less joint pains or experiences different symptoms, and also it might change like across the lifespan and from one cycle to the next. And so this is why so it was funny because we were talking about that over lunch, as you just said, and when we mentioned cycle syncing, then then you were like, oh my God. And it was like very, very visible. And I found that quite interesting because I was not necessarily expecting that reaction. Not that I was expecting like, cycle syncing is the best or that sort of thing.
I'm going to tell you why in a second.
Okay. But then go ahead, because that was just like, okay, I was surprised.
I had a very intense reaction to it because I'm going to go as far as I think it's low-key harmful and damaging for women to think about cycle syncing and try to arrange their activity around their menstrual cycle, because it's discouraging. In a lot of times when you look at cycle syncing, people will say, oh, throughout your menstruation, you should only do, light movement, do walks, do Pilates, do X, Y, Z, and this is not an optimal phase of your cycle and whatnot. And there's other recommendations as well, which turns out to be 2 weeks out of 4 weeks of your cycle, approximately. If you encourage women to only try and perform 2 weeks out of 4 weeks, that is damaging and that is discouraging. And I stand 10 toes down on the fact that it's harmful and it shouldn't be used. And I also PB'd my RDL a few months ago on my menstruation phase. So
I think it's not only harmful because of the then lack of exercise, of productive exercise that could happen in those phases, but also just because of the narrative that's behind it. And I mean, I would feel like very much trapped and endangered, when I constantly hear like, hey, in that time of the month, then you are actually weak, you have vulnerable. a high risk of injury, so you should not do anything intense. Then I would be pretty scared to actually do anything, and not just like go to the gym, but then I would start to question like, am I allowed to run? Am I allowed to go swim? Whatever. So I think that just the narrative is actually very very damaging for those reasons.
Absolutely. And it also makes you, again, not trust yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
But having to rely on external, and obviously there will be a generic advice that you should follow, whatever, but it just really places the focus outside of yourself.
And so that's going to be the perfect transition to go kind of back into the performance things, and get a bit more like tactical, practical, because like what you said was essentially, hey, you want to learn how to auto-regulate, because everyone is going to be very, very different. Even like the same person from one cycle to the next is going to be very different. And so what you want to learn is how to auto-regulate so that you can make that decision. You have agency over those decisions of how hard to push, how much to do, and that sort of things. Was that a pretty fair summary?
Yeah.
And so how are you going to do that?
That's a great question. $1 million question. Okay, so I do like to assess kind of readiness to train when you're going into your session, and just look at, okay, what are my stress levels like? What's my sleep, my nutrition, like how are factors outside of my training like affecting my performance in training? And I just, to give you a practical example, I like to do this throughout my warm-up. Normally my warm-up routine is, I like to do a generic warm-up and then a session-specific warm-up. And my generic warm-up or mobility work will be really...
I'm just laughing because yesterday I was like, hey, maybe you do the overhead press first so that we can train together. And then Kitty was like, no, I prep for deadlift. And
I said, no, I warmed up for deadlifts, both physically and mentally. So I'm not starting with overhead press. Okay, I'm very adamant about warm up. What can I say?
Sorry for the interruption. Please do on.
Anyway, so this is just what I like to do in my practice. I have a generic warm up that I like to do. Regardless of what kind of session I'm going into. I'm not meaning this like as far as I'm doing the same exact warm-up for before a run or upper body session, but just within strength training. Just because when I do the same movements, I can really assess like how is it feeling today, if that makes sense.
It does.
So I like to do that before the session. I mean, normally I'm very particular on this again throughout my menstrual phase, just because that is normally the phase where I personally feel very different. So yeah, just a generic assessment in the beginning of the session. And then also while I'm doing my warm-up sets, I'm kind of trying to pay attention to how it's feeling, how it's normally moving, how it's moving today, just making those comparisons. And then when I'm going into working sets in an exercise, I like to use RPE and RIR to assess how hard I'm working on my perceived exertion, if you will. So for someone who doesn't know, the RPE scale is rate of perceived exertion. It's a 1 to 10 scale to assess how hard you're working, basically. 1 being nothing at all, 10 being no reps in the tank. Absolutely gas, max effort, max effort, and it goes in hand with reps in reserve, RIR. So I like to use those measures and make decisions for further working sets based off of that.
So I'm going to try and recap that. So first off, you want to take the time in your head to assess subjectively the context you're in right now and the stress level that you're experiencing or experience in the few days prior to your session. You maybe like to do that during the warm-up or right before. So that's number 1, the subjective stress overall outside of the gym.
Yeah, how am I feeling?
Yeah, which is a good one. Yeah. Then the second thing is you're going to have a pretty standardized warm-up that's going to help you, I'm guessing, go over pretty much the whole body to feel like how's every joint moving and feeling, and is the shoulder a bit funky, or is it moving smooth like butter and that sort of things. And this is kind of bridging the gap between purely the subjective aspect and more the objective performance that you will find in the specific warm-up when you go into prepping for the first exercise and then maybe also after that. And you are going to feel like, hey, this 60 kilo, normally they move and it's a 5 out of 10. Today it's only a 4 out of 10, so I'm going to be able to do a bit more. Yeah. Or some other days it's like, wow, that's already an 8. Yeah. And so today I'm just going to take it very easy. Yeah,
exactly. And then from then on, I can make decisions. Do I want to maybe drop a set just to accommodate for that? Do I want to keep the RPE a little bit lower, but, keep the volume? Or am I going to play with intensity or volume? And then that's kind of just based off of preference on that day. Yeah.
So how do you, because I was going to ask exactly this, how do you make that decision about volume and intensity when you say preference? Is there still some kind of algorithm that runs through your mind where you say today's the right day to just do 1 set, but I'm still going to go hard? Or today I'm going to do 3 sets, but they are going to be very chill?
I would say, I think one of my biggest factors in that would be time efficiency, or like that question of, do I just want to shorten my session then and just get out? Am I in that headspace?
Okay.
That I still want to train, but I want to reduce the time that I'm here, because again, maybe I'm not here mentally either, or could I still like focus on, I don't know, full range of motion, tempo, control, all of that, but just a reduced intensity? Yeah, I think it's more of a preference thing. Yeah.
And time constraint seems to be pretty important.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that some of the women who are listening, they are going to ask themselves, why do you even go to the gym in one of those days where it feels like your headspace is not really there, you also don't really have the time, you're already feeling quite stressed out. Why would you do that kind of session?
So my first answer would be, you don't have to. You actually just don't. And I'm actually a huge advocate for that. Because I noticed this with some of the people that I've coached in the past and on myself as well, that we kind of get to the other side of the fence where we're like feeling guilty if we haven't made it. If we make...
Or maybe fear that you are going to regress and not make the progress that you actually want.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's that fear of letting yourself down, letting the coach down, going back in progress. So I'm here to give you permission. If you feel like this is absolutely not going to be a productive session for you, then don't. It's simply that.
Yeah. Cool. And so if you do feel like you could do something productive, then do you have like recommendation about choosing what to work on? Because when you arrived on Thursday, your flight was very it was very early, right?
That was gnarly, yes.
And so you had a very
I got up at 3:30.
Yeah. Like very, very short night.
Yeah.
And then I said, kind of jokingly, but also to an extent seriously, I was like, hey, in that kind of situation, I like to go for a 1 rep max attempt. And so
I was like, yep.
And so the reason I say this is because I noticed that when my sleep is very short or when I'm feeling like trashed, then doing anything that's going to be quite taxing, metabolically speaking, is something that I don't handle well at all. But I could still train quite hard or like have a pretty high intensity if it's in a very low rep range with a high load. So in that kind of situation, I'm just going to try and do that, see how it goes. Most of the time, it's all right. And so do you have any kind of recommendation?
I actually think this comes from trial and error.
Okay.
So because you said that, and then I was thinking, hell no. I was like, if I'm having compromised sleep, or again, just going back to the other like menstrual cycle related kind of compromise, there's no way in hell that I would go to that kind of intensity. So I think this is a skill that you learn with training age. You just have to go in, try it, reflect on that, think about how it went, and take that to your next session or the next time you're doing that, because everyone will be different. So I don't really have a generic advice.
No,
here.
that's fine. I actually should have worded that differently. It's not like you go for a 1 rep max, but more like you go for a heavy single, heavy double, which is not quite the same.
Yeah.
But so you would advise someone to build up that kind of library in their minds.
Yes.
Do you do that also on paper, maybe? Have like a training log where you take some notes? Is that something that you advise people to do?
I think that's actually that's a brilliant idea to have that noted down somewhere, whether that's in the notes of your phone. If you're using an app, then it should have a comment section or something where you can kind of go back to the previous session and leave notes there. Personally, all I do is think about my own training, so so I can remember these things. That's just a joke. That's not true. But it occupies my mind, so I can...
Your training occupies your mind?
Yes, it does.
How often?
Daily.
Daily?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Several times every day, or?
Depends if I'm training or not.
Okay. Is that something that's healthy, though? No, but I'm
do we need an intervention?
Do we need an intervention? I just want to go back to pretty much the very beginning of this discussion.
Yeah.
Because I also think that this is a nice transition.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, like, hey, it helped me, to have that performance drive to focus not so much on how I look, but on what I'm capable of doing. And it was really helpful. But this is something that I've experienced, and I'm certain that other people have experienced that as well, is the performance can also become like a pretty big part of our own identity. And then but when this is compromised, because it is a guaranteed it's going to happen, either because of an injury, of a niggle, or simply because we
just
age,
life
just because of life, then at some point we are just not going to be able to bring our A games to every session or competition or whatnot. And so do you think it's healthy to be like so focused on the performance and then depending on the yes or no? Because I do think that it has pros and cons.
Yeah.
Right. But whatever your answer is going to be, then how do you kind of deal with that? How do you manage like the being pretty driven and like people of your generation like to say obsessed?
Of your generation? Oh, you just made you look old.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't do that. You did.
That's how I'm feeling. Anyways, if you're feeling pretty driven and almost like consumed by those goals, then how do you balance that out without necessarily reverting back to being obsessed with the look and getting into an unhealthy place? So what are others avenue that one can explore to balance that out?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you brought that up, because I wanted to give a personal example here. And I think you knew that.
Did
you didn't?
No,
okay,
I did not.
cool.
I did not.
I thought you were going to kind of like go into that territory, because this is something that I experienced very recently. I don't want to say for the first time, but for the first time in a long time, where obviously I went over to more like performance-driven training, and I'm currently preparing for my very first competition, and and I've just got into this headspace where I was thinking a lot about my performance, not just on the day, but the preparation leading up to it, and numbers very much got into my head. And I went into trainings. I got to a point where I went into training sessions almost dreading it, because I was afraid of falling short of these expectations that I set for myself mainly. And of course, this is that side of the fence where that's not necessarily going to be healthy mentally, but also maybe physically, because it might lead me down a route where I push even though I shouldn't. So I ignore certain signs, etc. So
you're just more tense, like in general.
Yeah, 100%.
Just movements suffering a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or ignore any niggles, or even when if things don't feel right, maybe I'm like, okay, let's put another 5 on there, which I've certainly done before. And yeah, so I just found myself in that pickle recently. And I think the way I dealt with that is, and there's one thing that I really like to do with clients as well and with myself, is zooming out. Whether that's performance or aesthetics, again, not just thinking about, okay, like how is this? And this kind of ties into what we spoke about earlier with like missing a day in the gym. This one session is not going to be life or death. Fortunately for me, like my career doesn't depend on it. My livelihood doesn't depend on it. And if I look at missed sessions or compromised sessions over the course of 6 or 12 months time, rather than just within this, 4-week block or whatever that is, then it really doesn't matter. It's not that deep. And that's one thing I love to say in my life. It's not that deep. It's really not. Yeah.
I think I think it might even be like exactly what's needed, to skip the session or to deload the session or do something slightly different. So this is like very practical advice if you are feeling trashed and you are very, very driven by that performance, because we do coach a few ladies who are like very driven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then it's also absolutely fine to deload, to take a step back, to skip the session.
I actually think, because you said it's absolutely fine, I think it's necessary.
Yeah. It's necessary from a like psychological standpoint to go through that experience of skipping the session and noticing that not everything is lost.
Yeah.
And to develop that kind of mental flexibility around training is super important.
Yeah, flexibility.
But also, you have to remember what it means to perform, right? And if you want to be able to perform, then it means that you are going to do that the best if you are not injured and if you don't have pain, right? And so if you go back to, okay, I have that competition and the goal is to perform, then how can I ensure that I'm going to show up on my best foot on this day? It's not going to be because you pushed too much on that one session and you injured yourself, right? Yeah. It's because you ensured that you are going to be able to show up. That's first and foremost. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No worries.
I actually just thought about another practical advice on this one. I actually think it's super, super healthy to explore other means of movement in this scenario, and just in general as well.
That's what I thought you would say. That's what I was kind of expecting. Yeah.
Well, here it is. There you go. We got there. It was a long route. So it's, if you don't necessarily feel up for pushing in the gym, but you feel like, oh, I could really go swimming, or I could really play some basketball. I don't know, wouldn't be me. Or again, like yoga, whatever.
Touch rugby.
Yes.
Shout out to Monica.
Yay. So there's so many other forms of movement that you can enjoy just for the enjoyment of it. And that's fine.
Yeah.
It will serve you more.
100%. I feel those are very good, like closing words.
Yeah, I think so.
So, like, obviously we work together.
We do.
So you will be able to connect with Kitty inside our coaching program. As she demonstrates, she has like a very, very wide expertise on performance, and also like the whole mental aspect of the whole journey, like the whole shebang, what you can find out there in the fitness world. If you want to get strong, if you want to be able to perform, then come have a taste. Come explore
Bring it
that.
on.
And if you just want to connect with Kitty, you can find her on Instagram. I don't know what's your handle.
At kittyolas.coaching.
Can you spell that?
Yes, I can. KITTIOLASZ.coaching.
Perfect. So you'll find her there, and you'll find us inside the SBC crew.
Yes, on Strong Babes Club, Kitty's Corner.
Kitty's Corner.
Yes.
Once a month for now. Maybe soon, a bit more frequently even. And thank you for being here and doing that interview.
Thank you for having me.
For giving me crap at the beginning of the the interview. That was fun.
Anytime.
So we are going to do that at some point in the future again, the next time we come here, or maybe we go to Budapest.
Well, you're so welcome to visit.
Okay, so we'll do that. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.